I am New York.
Я сам Нью-Йорк.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
Welcome to Diverse City, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Zyphus Lebrun. This month, we're heading to Bushwick, an evolving industrial area in northern Brooklyn. The neighborhood's developed a reputation for having a cafe on every street corner, and depending on who you ask, it may be a good or bad thing. These cafes have become symbolic of the gentrification that's been driving away many Hispanics who call this region home. Statistics show that 70% of the neighborhood identifies as Latino, but that's changing very quickly. According to the Housing and Urban Policy Institute, NYU Furman Center, Bushwick's white population tripled between 2000 and 2012. Many see this as a bit of a reverse migration from what happened in the 60s. That was when real estate agents and landlords used a tactic known as blockbusting to intimidate white residents into selling their homes at cheaper rates. Then they would resell at a higher price to minority families. The New York Times, in an October 1977 article, reported that these agents would call white families to tell them that their daughters were in danger of being sexually assaulted by the men of color in the neighborhood. These methods were laid bare during the blackout of 1977, when the area was literally set ablaze by landlords looking to cash in on insurance fraud. The once relatively unknown area began making national headlines for all the wrong reasons. The area has been making a comeback since the mid-80s. Now it's seen as a bellwether for many of the changes happening all over the city. The once derelict warehouses are now canvases for street art and lofty studios. On this episode, Our Air, fighting for cleaner air and parks in the neighborhood at a time when the city is financially strapped. Frequent flyers, a tradition passed on for generations, is on the verge of disappearing. And the cost of free food, a local activist group extends a helping hand, but there's a catch. Those stories and more coming up as we explore Bushwick, Brooklyn. The grassroots organization El Puente has started an action plan to address community concerns over the high levels of air pollution in Bushwick and Southside Williamsburg. Though city statistics show that overall air pollution rates have gone down, the numbers in these areas are still high. Advocates say that these high rates of pollution have contributed to asthma, cancer, and in some cases death. The program is called Nuestro Aire, or Our Air.
So Our Air, Nuestro Aire, is a clean air, community wellness, and self-determination campaign to improve the air quality in the neighborhoods of Southside Williamsburg and Bushwick, but also to advocate for healthy open spaces and advocate for, a public health equity in both of these communities.
Nuestro Aire is a program under El Puente's Green Light District. The activist Luis Gardner Costa started the district about 10 years ago. It was a means of empowering residents who were being displaced by a surging wave of gentrification in the neighborhood.
In order to counter that narrative of helplessness and to flip the narrative from a narrative of disempowerment to taking control of the situation, that's why the Green Light District was started, to say that, okay, we are not just victims of this change and we are not just helplessly going to watch while it happens, but we are going to take control of it. We are going to know exactly what's happening and we are going to propose a vision for the future.
Cleaner air and parks are a big part of that vision. Moitra is an urban planner and lecturer at the New School. She says that policies implemented by Robert Moses, the vaunted and vilified urban planner, who essentially changed New York City's landscape, made that difficult.
During the Moses era, a lot of transportation infrastructure was built to cut through communities of color. And in this case, in the South Side, the BQE, the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, cut through parks in the community.
This video shows how El Puente has spent years recording air pollution levels near the Williamsburg Bridge. They argue that this traffic has contributed to higher air pollution levels in the area and thus higher asthma rates. A 2016 study conducted by the Department of Health shows that Bushwick does have a higher rate of the most harmful air pollutant compared to the rest of Brooklyn and the city.
Something that we are advocating for through the campaign is not just to, very urgently respond to the issue of poor quality and high asthma rates, but also to respond to the lack of green spaces, especially in the aftermath of COVID. A recent Harvard study that we've been using a lot says that areas with the highest air pollution in the city and the country are the places where COVID had the most deadly impacts.
Even with that, improving green spaces may be a tall order for the NYC Parks Department. The department's budget was cut by $84 million last year due to COVID, and there may be more cuts this year. NYC Parks Deputy Commissioner Mark Folk recently told a webinar organized by the parks advocacy group New Yorkers for Parks that the department has been struggling just to keep the parks clean at a time when more people are using open spaces during the pandemic.
Demand and usage was increasing exponentially while our resources were decreasing. Our staff has generally said that post July 4th, July through basically September, every day in parks was like a weekend.
What's more, Parks Department Senior Advisor and Assistant Commissioner Sam Biederman explained that there are several projects stuck in limbo because of budget cuts.
There is this chunk of projects, about 200 something projects worth about $1 billion in funding that are caught in procurement. And the reason why they're caught in procurement is because the city isn't releasing money, the money apportioned to make these purchases.
Despite that, El Puente has a proposal to create a green wall that will separate the parks from the transportation lines. Moitra admits that it's no silver bullet, and steps will have to be taken to make sure that the people that they're trying to protect aren't further displaced.
We are very wary that the minute you improve parks, there is the possibility of gentrification. The minute you add an infrastructure project, there is a possibility of that. That's why we try to look at it in a holistic way, and we try to make sure that everyone working on it understands that when you're working on a green infrastructure project, you also need to look at housing. You also need to look at rent. You also need to look at land ownership. You need to look at cultural preservation, all of it. You cannot, in an isolated way, just look at parks.
If you've ever walked the streets of New York, you've probably encountered a pigeon, or two. But have you ever thought of keeping one as a pet? Well, there is a close-knit community of Brooklynites in Bushwick that actually raise and breed hundreds of them at a time. For over half of a century, these pigeon keepers have created a safe haven for these birds that commonly get a bad rap. Crystal Lowe has that story.
Good morning, fellow flyers. The power team is up. Panama's daily fly.
Delroy Panama Sampson is a retired electrician who has been breeding pigeons in Bushwick for over 55 years. He says some of the older Italian, Irish, and Polish men who enjoy pigeon rearing and racing took him under their wings as a way of keeping him out of trouble.
I used to go to the pet shop with the birds, and then the guys was nice enough to come to my house. And so see all these white men come into my house, and about 3 of them, and they came to my mother and father and told them, listen, he's a good kid, and if you want to keep him out of trouble, let him have his hobby. We'll help him get the coop up on the roof and everything. It's kind of making me choke up to think about that. That was nice. And they helped me build the coop.
It was Italians who brought the game to the U.S. over 100 years ago, in an effort to continue the sport they loved to play back in the old country. Panama is one of many black and brown boys who were recruited by these men when their own sons and family moved away from Bushwick.
Their sons would bring the 50-pound sacks of feed over their shoulders up the ladder. Their sons would help clean the feces off the coop and maintain it. But as these guys' sons moved out to the suburbs, New Jersey and Long Island, and they were getting older. And so what I realized happened was a lot of the men of color I met who at the time were in their 20s and 30s, when they were kids, they would see these coops. The ethnic whites would say, hey, kid, I'll pay you $5 a week if you clean my coop and help me take care of it. And then they would basically mentor these boys who became apprentices and grew into men who kept up flying pigeons.
Professor Colin Jeromack is the chair of the Environmental Studies Department and a professor of sociology at NYU. He is also the author of a book called The Global Pigeon.
Writing a book about pigeons is a pretty strange thing, probably to do for anybody to do, but especially for a sociologist.
Professor Jeromack's research led him on an eye-opening journey into a world of pigeon keeping in Bushwick.
I lived in East Williamsburg, right at the border of Bushwick. And when I would go up on my rooftop, I would see rooftop pigeon coops and men waving these bamboo poles with flags on the end, and these stocks of hundreds of pigeons circling.
Numerous environmental studies and surveys suggest that there are anywhere between 4 to 8 million pigeons living in New York City. In fact, one statistic claims that there are approximately 1 pigeon for every 2 people in the city. They're attracted to New York City because of the tall buildings, window ledges, rooftops, and bridges. These features are perfect substitutes for the cliffside ledges they're naturally accustomed to in the wild. In Bushwick, informally, you have your companions, flyers, and racers. None of these categories are exclusive of the other. While some people breed and raise their pigeons for companionship, others raise them in the hopes of flying them to participate and compete in competitions locally, nationally, and globally.
So you race for prizes. And there's a group of people that race in the 5 boroughs, which is called the Combine. A club is just a club, and everything in the 5 boroughs is called Combine.
Pigeon racing is one thing, but the guys I first started hanging out with are not racing pigeons. What they do is they breed a type of pigeon. They breed one of 2 types, either a breed called a New York Flight because it was first bred in New York, or another type of pigeon called a tiplet. And these pigeons, what they're good at is flying really high. So pigeons don't like to fly high because they can get picked off by hawks. And so, but these guys take a breed that is particularly bred to want to fly high and to have endurance. And the idea is you train hundreds of them usually to fly in a stock, they call it, very tightly together.
The racers are the guys who send out homers, and they go for a distance, hundreds of miles, and the first one to get back to the coop wins. My guys were flyers. They would send up their whole coop into the sky, and they would form these big tornadoes of birds, and they would try to lure back the enemy birds, which were their friends' birds, to their coop. And the flyer who got the most birds won for that day.
Travis Rose is a freelance photographer and photography instructor. Rose spent 6 years in Bushwick capturing images of pigeons and their keepers. He went on to display them at Central Park's Arsenal Gallery. He says that changes in the neighborhood are contributing to the disappearance of breeders and coops.
As buildings went condo or things were torn down, like access to a roof that somebody will let you build an illegal structure on and have, hundreds of pigeons up there, it was disappearing.
The culture also took a major hit in 2016 when a fire destroyed a significant amount of the remaining coops and buildings. Even with that, pigeon keepers like Panama remain dedicated to sustaining the culture by ensuring that his coops are up to city code.
Mine is legal. Before I put the coop up, I registered with the city. I got a permit. This is considered a part of the house. I try to do it the right way so that you don't have to go through. Guys build coops and then the city comes after them. Then they get fines and they have to take it down.
He says despite the decline in pigeon keeping, he thinks the practice will carry on.
I think the sport's going to be here for quite some time still, even if it diminishes to the very few, because it gets you away from the bush, the hustle and bustle of New York. It gets you away from the entrapment of this city.
Crystal Lowe for Diversity.
term mutual aid has become a buzz phrase during the pandemic. It basically refers to the process of community members coming together to look after their own. Oftentimes, it's the sick and elderly who benefit from this assistance. In that regard, a coalition of Bushwick groups have created a food distribution site they call Comida Pa'l Pueblo. Shannon Ayala filed this report.
People who have been paid the rent in the last 7 months and stuff, so because they're trying to just pay for food.
Fati Rodriguez and Bianca Lugo are two of the community organizers behind Comida Pa'l Pueblo.
Hi, I'm Bianca.
I'm Pedro.
We're with New York Boricua Resistance, Mi Casa Resiste, and G Rebels. We're 3 Bushwick organizations looking to sustain bi-weekly food distribution.
That's a promotional video for a fundraiser for Comida Pa'l Pueblo, a food distribution site run by a coalition of Bushwick activist groups in response to COVID-19's economic impact in the area.
It's a food distribution, and it's completely free. Everything is free. Also, we don't just do food, we do produce, non-perishables, prepared meals, PPE, and clothing.
Because we've been sticking to the place where we do regular distribution, which is in front of La Marqueta, which is, in a historically Puerto Rican neighborhood right there. We work with a lot of the Black and brown families in this communities, immigrant families, a lot of folks who are homeless too, we serve, and some folks who just got out of the horrible prison complex. Also, different groups have come with non-perishables and produce, and a lot of even restaurants in the area have donated to our efforts with hot food.
Also, we were doing it outdoors. So for a long time, it was all through word of mouth. The area that we're in, it's surrounded by public housing. There's a lot of elderly folks and a lot of people who spend time outside. So the word just spread, kind of felt like a block party, like every 2 weeks. A COVID-safe block party.
A block party for tough times. The New York Times Upshot found unemployment in Bushwick went up from 8% in February to 30% in June, not unlike many other neighborhoods. Another report from late last year from Hunger Free America found the number of people going to food pantries and soup kitchens in New York City during the pandemic went up 65%. But this is not those pantries.
So this isn't like a white-led, nonprofit-led food distribution. This is a food distribution by the people for the people. We grew up in this neighborhood. We grew up around all the systemic injustices, and we survived the gentrification that tried to displace us, and we're still here trying to fight for our homes and for our people.
The Comida Pa'l Pueblo organizers compare what they do to the Black Panthers and the Young Lords, iconic 1960s, 70s social justice groups that provided free breakfast programs for kids and other services.
We also distribute political education. We distribute materials that are for legal resources, mental health resources, legal resources for housing and labor and police violence.
Most of the literature they supply in the packages are for practical help, like information on tenant legal services, rent relief, or immigration help. But some stuff is more political, like a call to action against a national grid pipeline project or abolishing police. One of the senior members picking up a package said she's read some of the material, but remembers only stuff regarding health and helpful resources. A volunteer, Gabriela Malspin, translated.
And she, reiterated a lot regarding how much she appreciates, what she kind of her interactions with the people from Comida Pa'l Pueblo, and has read a lot particularly about some resources regarding masks and health and things like that.
To keep Comida Pa'l Pueblo funded, they launched an ongoing fundraiser on GiveButter.com with a $15,000 goal. As of January, they've reached just under $4,000.
The hope is to continue to do this because it's an ongoing need. Unless they cancel rent and they cancel mortgages, people are going to be in crazy dire problems in a few months.
Rodriguez and Lugo did this interview from Mayday Space, a Bushwick social justice community center where they are accepting donations.
There's definitely a need for more food right now. Like, people need food. And so if folks like are hearing us here, please come to the Mayday space, but Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays between 1 and 5 p.m.
They say they prefer no Goya products. This is Shannon Ayala for Diverse City.
Finally from us, a neighborhood news outlet hard hit during the COVID pandemic is struggling to find its way back after losing nearly all its revenue. Bushwick Daily's story is reflective of the struggles of other small news outlets that have come to depend on a mayoral executive order for survival. We get the details from Vanessa Monet.
Local journalism is important because it's a reflection of communities and people and culture.
That clip is from a short promotional video created by some of the staff of Bushwick Daily to drum up support for the site. The 11-year-old news outlet, that depends in part on ad dollars from local businesses and the sale of a beer coupon book, lost much of its revenue when the pandemic began.
We lost around 80 to 90% in the early weeks of the pandemic.
Alec Meeker has been the publisher for the last 3 years. He's continued to shape the site's transition to a more news-based outlet. That shift was started when the paper's founder, Katarina Hajbenova, a Slovakian immigrant to the area, became the Tau Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism Fellow at CUNY's Graduate School of Journalism.
And that's when the publication started to change from just being a place where events and photos were posted into a publication that began its journey to the journey that we're still on now, into really becoming a reflective and informational and crucial source of information for what is happening in the neighborhood.
Bushwick Daily is one of the more than 300 ethnic and neighborhood publications in the city that have come to depend on Mayor Bill de Blasio's Executive Order 47 for survival. The order was executed in May of 2019 and states, in part, all agencies of the City of New York shall ensure that, by the end of fiscal year 2020, and for every fiscal year thereafter, at least 50% of their annual print and digital publication advertising spending is going toward community and ethnic media outlets.
Our overhead is low, and we have a lean staff. It was certainly enough to keep us going for a couple months during the toughest times.
Meeker says that the site gets between 60 to 80,000 unique views a month. He's been reaching out to those readers for financial assistance through a subscription campaign. It's a decision that's left him conflicted.
I believe that the local news and community information should always be free. Bushwick Daily is a free platform to use right now, and it will always be a free platform to use. Subscribers, if they are paying subscribers, they get on a newsletter list that is exclusive to paying subscribers, which doesn't have additional news, but it does have either some discounts to local events or potentially different access to more exclusive content or things going on in the neighborhood.
Meeker says he remains optimistic about the future of small neighborhood news outlets like Bushwick Daily, but there's a caveat.
Without Executive Order 47 and without support from the next mayor or continued support from city officials, it will become extremely difficult for hundreds of publications across the city who are independent, who don't have large donors or large money backing them.
Reporting for Diverse City, I'm Vanessa Monet.
That's our look at Bushwick, Brooklyn. Join us next month for our special episode marking April's Earth Day. Till then, thanks for joining us as we explore our diverse city.